If you've been on Nigerian social media lately, you will know that peace left Regina Daniels and Ned Nwoko's marriage a long time ago. In fact, if you check well, you might even see Peace's luggage still at Marital Mohammed Airport because it couldn't get a visa to return. At first, everyone thought it was just another celebrity misunderstanding, small couple quarrel, maybe an unfollow here and there, maybe a cryptic Instagram story about self-love and healing. But oh no, this one wasn't your regular breakup gist. This one had slaps, Ferrari, drugs, police arrests, and even family reunion. You know, a marriage has entered Nigerian season finale level when both families start holding emergency meetings and people begin dropping motivational captions like, "God, I beg, not my portion." After the police hauled Regina Daniels' brother, Sammy West, into the station and threats began flying that anyone who dared stand between the couple would be arrested, Regina decided enough was enough. She had already moved out of the mansion, bought her own house like a woman with a plan, and then, like a lightning strike in a dry season, she opened her phone and began to pull back the curtain on a marriage that the tabloids had been painting as glossy and untouchable. She started by telling her story the way only she could, not as a crisp legal statement, not as a carefully rehearsed PR message, but as the exhausted confession of someone who had been bruised by power, insulated from help, and watched as the narrative about her life was sold to strangers as entertainment. She said the arrests, the controlled headlines, and the staged sympathy were not about justice. They were a strategy. The plan, she insisted, was to isolate her by cutting off her family and friends, to make her the kind of lonely target that would come crawling back because she had nowhere else to go. According to Regina, the entire drama wasn't about a little fight. It was a whole war strategy. She accused Ned of trying to isolate her completely. He had allegedly been plotting to cut her family, scare her friends, and leave her alone so she would have nowhere to turn. Once she was completely vulnerable, the plan went, she would have no choice but to return, rehabbed and under his control, ready to continue the marriage on his terms. Nigerians reading this on Instagram could feel the smoke from the drama rising. Aunties were already forwarding screenshots with "I told you so" captions, and barbers were adding commentary between haircuts. She didn't deny using drugs, but she made one thing very clear. This was never the real issue. According to her, Ned had always encouraged it, allegedly saying she was sexier when high because it made her more romantic and easier to handle. But the moment she resisted or wanted space, she was suddenly labeled mentally unstable, doors locked, phones seized, and doctors allegedly called in to give injections meant for people with bipolar disorder. In other words, according to Regina, Ned was running a control operation disguised as love. Nigerians in WhatsApp groups were shaking their heads. Now, wow, this one passed any Nollywood film where I don't watch. Regina talked about the house as if it were an institution with its own rules, doors that could lock from the outside, phones taken away for days. Doctors summoned to perform treatments with the justification of stabilizing her mood. She painted the picture of a woman who learned to celebrate her compliers. Behave and you are well. Resist and they declare you unwell. Every act of insistence on autonomy was meant with diagnosis of a detention. She said the moment she tried to speak up, the labels and injections began to come faster than sympathy. Regina had already played the first move like a proper queen in a chess game no one asked to be part of. She moved out of the mansion, bought her own house, and set her own rules. A woman with a plan, Nigerians would say, shaking their heads as they sipped sachet water while scrolling through the unfolding chaos. But moving out was just a prelude. The main event was about to hit Instagram like a jollof pot exploding in the kitchen. She named the cost of staying, not the designer bags or the luxury cars that the tabloids loved to show off, but the years of her life, Time, career momentum, youthful opportunities traded for a gilded silence. She asked rhetorically whether the money allegedly spent on her could equal the value of the prime years she gave away. The career doors she closed, the public she stepped back from. In her telling, love had been sold as a contract without signatures, glamorous on photos, empty on paper. She insisted they had never been formally married in court. There were no binding legal documents, she said, only a social arrangements with practical consequences. A few days earlier, she had posted the kind of messages that is meant to break a nation's heart. She wrote about how her brother's only crime was defending her and how, in the shuffle of power and money, police forces could feel like extensions of influence. She said the highest bidder often won in a system where access mattered more than truth. That post left no room for ambiguity. She was cornered, and the rules of the corner seemed to read. In a voice that was equal parts anger and resignation, she wrote about feeling crippled, about the impossible choice of returning to the house in exchange for her brother's freedom. The very fact that this might be the bargain. Inject me, silence me, let me live like a zombie, made her shudder. The legal case against her brother, she insisted, showed little substance, yet power loves to manufacture evidence and a story that suits its needs. She also demonstrated the surprising tendencies or tenderness that often arrives in moments of crisis. Her parents, once estranged, once publicly at odds, reunited in Abuja to stand by their daughter. For those who have watched Nollywood and real life blur into the same narrative, the image of parents reuniting for their child felt like the small, honest scene in an otherwise contrived world. She called her father a lawyer who had once been a force before circumstances and time deemed his public prominence. She called her mother a powerhouse and made clear that this was the family she had always wanted. People who would not let the state or a senator or a headline decide the fate of their child without a fight. The entire drama had, of course, a public beginning that reads like a dark comedy. Rumors about a baby, whispers that another actress had joined the long and complicated list of lovers, and the viral spectacle of a smashed Ferrari. But those cinematic beats, the shattered car, the security skirmishes, were only symptoms of a more complicated rot. The rumor that Chika Ike had a baby and that the baby might be tied to the senator had apparently been the spark that reopened old wounds. Regina once promised she would be the last, felt replaced in sentiment if not in legal status. The emotional betrayal was sharp. The public spectacle was even sharper. Friends and onlookers who once admired the fairy tale now watched a family unravel in real time. Regina's public accusations that Ned encouraged her drug use because he liked her sexier when she was high landed on social media like a thrown coconut at a masquerade. People reacted with a predictable array of emotions that the internet specializes in: fury, mockery, empathy, memes. Nigerians in the comments sections did what they always do. They turned pain into punchlines and then into lessons. Punchlines arrive quickly. Jokes about diamonds and heartbreak. Memes about ego and petrol pumps. Videos that cut between Regina's couture and the humble resilience of everyday Nigerians. But under the noise, a serious conversation began to pulse. It was about power, consent, and whether a lonely woman could manage to leave when the mechanisms of that cage were not just emotional, but legal and social too. She accused the senator of choking her voice by using the state's apparatus, arresting a brother who stood up for her, threatening anyone who might help, deputizing influence until the law felt like a suggestion rather than a shield. When she called out the family's arrest as a tactic to starve her of comfort and force her into compliance, people who had seen similar patterns in smaller arenas suddenly recognized the same pattern in the very large house of a political magnate. Power, when concentrated, robs people of exit strategies. Money can fund legal defense and media houses, but it cannot mend the loneliness of a person whose neighbors live in a world made for them but not with them. On social media, the unbelievable became routine. Some observers decided the entire saga was a publicity stunt. Others insisted it was a criminal matter dressed in celebrity couture. There were not earnest voices asking about domestic violence, coercion, and the ethics of exploiting addiction as both a weapon and a justification. Regina's claim that she had been forcibly medicated, giving injections meant for bipolar treatment without proper consent, triggered a serious debate about medical ethics in private settings. Who authorizes such treatments, and under what pretense? Pushed a few commentators to ask whether there were accountability mechanisms when rich households play doctor and judge in one person's life. Yet Regina's story also carried a keen, almost bitter rumor of a woman who had once believed in a certain fantasy and discovered the terms in the contract. She spoke about not just being bought, but about the decline of the bargaining chip, that you could spend in millions and still not buy time or youth. She framed her resentments in the language of loss, the career opportunities she surrendered, the public persona she posed, the prime years spent in a relationship that now seemed transactional. As days stretched into a trending saga and the public watched how the small and the theatrical mingled, there were scenes that could be mocked: the Ferrari, the award nights, the expensive smiles, and scenes that demanded gravity. A brother in custody, a woman afraid of doctors she did not trust, parents reunited to fight a fight they had not planned to rejoin. The mixture made for the kind of story Nigerians could not refuse. Part courtroom drama, part tragic comedy. At the center remained a simple, devastating claim that a powerful man had used law, money, and control to shape a narrative that left a woman struggling to find the legal or social exit. Regina's counterclaim was that the drug narrative was a smokescreen, a convenient plot to make people take his side. She begged the country, the same country that loved to watch the spectacle of their lives, to see the pattern for what it was. Not just a celebrity drama, but an argument over who gets to control a knife. Now, the story that started with a smashed car and a virus lab that moved into an arena where law, family, and social pressure collided, Regina had decided to fight. She would not be the silent actress anymore. She reshaped her struggle into a public act of resilience, a call for fair process, for her brother's freedom, and for an end to the strategy she believed had been used to break her. As the cameras and comment sections waited for the next episodes, Regina prepared for the next move, armed with family reunion, hard-won clarity, and the stubborn truth that even when headlines tried to compress a life into a meme, the person living that life still has stories to tell. In a society that rewrites women's pain as scandal and men's control as concern, she chose to speak. Whether this speaking would free her brother, unwind the legal threats, or heal the personal traumas remained to be seen. For now, she had reclaimed publicly and defiantly the right to narrate her own life.